Hello, and welcome to another episode of Aphantasia Experiments. I am so excited to have you today. I have a lot to talk about, actually about aphantasia, and some research that's going on and that I'm doing, that I'm just super excited about and super just thrilled to share with you. I like connecting dots. I get really excited about connecting dots. It lights up something in my brain, and I hope it does the same for you. I like making connections. I feel like you do too. I feel like we're the same people. Okay, so where to go? I actually wrote some notes down, so I'm not too much of a scatterbrain today. So give me a second. I have been playing around with this idea that consciousness is connected to our fascia, which our fascia is like our skin, right? So I've been writing this blog series. I've been tracking my experience doing fascia work. What I do is I take like a dry brush and I do dry brushing, and then I'm doing rolling and I'm doing all this stuff. And then I've been experimenting with meditation afterwards. So, and I do some Pilates. So I'm doing like the whole workout, fascia work, and then I lay down or sit up and do a meditation. I've been getting some, my dog is going crazy upstairs. You probably can't hear that because I have noise canceling headphones, but my ADHD, when my dog barks in the background, my brain shuts off and all I can think about is my dog barking. So give me a second while the Amazon guy walks by our house. Okay. So I've had a couple experiences where I've gotten some color in my meditation, as well as one time I got actual like this green Mandela Aztec Mayan type circle pattern thing in my eyes, and it was like swirling like a fractal meditation. It was really cool, and I kept thinking like, this is happening. This is happening. This is happening. And I was like, this, I'm onto something with the fascia work. And then, so same week I start my fascia work, and this is how connections are made. It's like things happen in your life, or you have a conversation with someone that like just connects the dot, you know? So I had been reading about fascia work and about connective tissue stuff because I have a connective tissue disorder. And I think here's another point. I think I've made this before, that I think that a lot of people with aphantasia probably have underlying connective tissue issues that they just don't know about. Like a lot of autoimmune stuff, and stuff that is not easily diagnosed is not easily diagnosed, right? So just to put into perspective, I have a I am in the middle of being diagnosed for ADS. I've been referred to a clinic that takes a year to get into, but I'm 41 years old and I have like the score is 100%. Like I have 9 out of 9 for the Baton score. Nobody's ever even checked me for any of this stuff. I have all the criteria, but it's not something that doctors check for, right? So, and I do believe that sometimes there could be something so little that's off that's causing your body to not like flow properly. And this is where I'm going to get to. Okay, so I was doing the fascia work, and then I had to stop the fascia work, and I was getting bruises all over my body too from this fascia work in random places. And I started getting really congested, so you hear me sniffling on here. I have like crazy postnatal drip, and I've been really congested in my chest, and I was talking to a friend about it who has done fascia work too, and says that that's like part of it. You get like, you can start, you're expelling all your gross crap. So that's been happening. But anyways, so I had to stop because this past weekend, I had to go for a Holter monitor test. So I went and I got a Holter monitor on, and I had to wear it over the weekend, 48 hours. Now, if I'm going to do a medical test, and this might be the hypochondriac in me, but I think it's more the curious person. So I'm just grabbing a drink here because I'm thirsty. You don't know that I'm doing that. I don't know why I'm apologizing. I saw Kamala Harris yesterday, and she said, "Stop apologizing for nothing." So I'm not apologizing for getting a drink out of the fridge. And I'm not even going to apologize for apologizing. Anyway, so I go for this Holter test. I have to wear it over 48 hours, and as I was saying, I don't just oh, you're just going to go for a medical test? You're not going to Google what normal results are and what a normal heart rate is and all this stuff, right? Obviously I'm going to Google that stuff. That's who I am. It might not be you. My good friend and neighbor, she's like, I would never Google anything. I'm like, I don't actually Google anything now. I ask ChatGPT everything because it knows all my medical stuff. And people feel it's 50-50 with people with ChatGPT, but it's whatever. I'm not going to go onto a tangent about that. Stick with the program. Okay, so I like knowing stuff. I like understanding me. I want to know why I can't visualize. I want to know where the root comes from. I want to know if I can fix it. I want to know if I can fix other people. I want to know what the connections are. I want to know why I've never been able to run cross country. I want to know, all the things that make me unique and all the things that connect me to other people. I care about knowing stuff and learning about me and other people. It's really important to me. So I don't think it's about being a hypochondriac. I think it's about learning, and I'm obsessed with learning and making connections, right? So that being said, I start Googling what's normal, whatever. And I have a little mini, so I can't see what's going on in the Holter monitor, but they're telling me, press it anytime you think you have any sort of heart issue or whatever. I'm like, I don't know what's normal, what's not normal. And they said, well, anytime you feel like your heart rate's going above 100 beats per minute at resting. And I was like, okay, well, that is me all the time. I don't have a heart rate under 100 beats per minute. And that got me thinking, I do, I should say, I do have a heart rate under 100 beats per minute. But if I am up and I am walking around, it is over 100. It is not, if I move around on the couch, it goes over 100. My resting heart rate will be around 60, 70 if I'm completely relaxed in a meditation, or sleeping, Sometimes my heart rate will dip really, really low after I've had a really, really high event, which I've noticed. I'll go up to 200 and then it'll dip to 40. That feels really awful. It feels like I'm floating above my body. But the point is, when the doctor or the practitioner who was doing my stuff, I was like, well, what is normal? What should I be pressing? She's like, anytime you feel a flutter, anytime you feel dizzy, anytime you feel like your heart's racing, anytime, and the 100 beats. And I was like, it made me it was one of these ding, 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 this is not normal. I mean, obviously I was getting the Holter test because something's not normal in me. But it was actually, I believe, I had to go to the doctor for a bunch of stuff. I believe it was part of the process of going to the EDS clinic that I'm being referred to, is I had to go for some heart tests. Yeah, so I start thinking about what's normal, what's not normal. And then other things I make connections other places, where I was talking to my friend about how I can't do a get ready with me video. I can't stand there and do my makeup and talk. My brain can't do the two things at once. If I'm sending a voice note, I will try to do it while I'm getting ready, and then I'll just stop getting ready and start pacing, because I think something happens with the blood flow to my brain, and I think it has something to do with my heart and my blood function, how everything moves around in my body. It has to do with the fascia, the heart rate, the blood flow. And the other thing I recently found out, and this is something that who would ever know this unless you went for an x-ray, and maybe millions of people are walking around with the same thing and it's causing their aphantasia. Who knows? But I went for an x-ray of my cervical spine, another thing I had to do for EDS, and they saw that I have 2 cervical ribs, which can cut off circulation. So I can't do my hair. Like I've said this on my TikTok before. Like I can't put my hands up and do a braid in my hair. I just lose circulation. I can't do it. I have to keep shaking blood back into my arms. So, what does it mean? What does it mean? What if aphantasia is we're not getting the proper blood flow to the brain? And here's the other part. Okay, this is the other thing I was thinking about. My brain like goes in a million different directions. So I was thinking about how I really have a hard time thinking when I'm just standing. Thinking, texting, emailing, I could not, if I'm standing and I have to, like, if I'm at an event and I have to do a lot of, like, live posting and stuff, I have to sit down to type out my stuff or, like, to, like, email, or, like, I have to lean on something. I can't just stand there. I can't. I think, and I'm realizing now, I don't have the blood flow to my brain. I have to be moving my body for that blood to continuously flow to my brain. Or I have to be lying down. And here's the thing with that, or sitting down. I think to get full blood flow to the head, you have to lie down flat. And I think that because we have all these fluffy pillows, we're never fully getting that blood flow and that relaxation. So I'm planning my next phase of my fascia meditation or fascia experiments is to do some fascia work. I also I'm like obsessed with the fascia stuff and vibration. So I have 2 friends who have these vibration plates that help with what's it called, like blood flow and all that, lymph drainage and all that stuff. And I'm like, I don't want to invest in one of those. I just got a Pilates machine. I'm not made of money over here, you know? So I saw these like vibration belt things. They're called, oh gosh, I don't remember. Something rings? Fascia rings, maybe? And you put it on a belt and you can move it around your body and it just vibrates. I just got it yesterday and I'm in love. I feel like it makes me feel more connected to myself. I feel like maybe this is something like I'm not, because my blood flow is not functioning the way a normal person would. And like, what's normal? I think a normal person can visualize because it's like everything's getting to where it's supposed to get to. With me, it's not. It's not getting there, you know? And I know the ability to visualize, the ability to see visuals in my brain is there because I can dream and because I've had visuals during a fever or, you know, as I was saying, when I was doing the meditation after my fascia work and I saw the Mandela Aztec thing. And I've seen color the next time I did it, I saw color. The other thing I should mention to the meditation I did after the fascia work was I put some light pressure on my eyes too. And I've had a couple people reach out about meditations they've done. I have a couple meditations on YouTube and a couple people have reached out about, you know, doing the meditations or, you know, changing a little bit here and there, luck they've had and whatnot. A lot of people have had luck with just putting a little bit of pressure on your eyes. There's something that happens, and even if you're in the dark, it's like a bit of light starts to shine through. And then from that light, you can draw on more visuals. It's like you can manipulate it with your mind, or your mind manipulates it for you, but it can start taking shape or changing color. And it's really about noticing that. So one of my first meditations was like, you do the flashlight in your eye and then you're noticing the color behind your eye and you're naming it out loud. Part of our brain understanding that it can do something is like training it and telling it that it can, and being observant too. Like maybe you don't even realize you can visualize because you haven't been patient enough with your brain. Like maybe you have to sit there with your eyes shut, for an hour saying, I can see a blue star, I can see a blue star, I can see a blue star. Maybe that's it. I just watched, this is another connection, and this is part that I'm going to add to my experiment too. I just watched the Eddie Murphy special on Netflix yesterday, Being Eddie. Love the man. I didn't know much about Eddie Murphy, obviously. He's a hilarious actor, super talented, but I don't know anything about him. And watching, they're obviously going to put him in his best light, but I loved his spiritual side. Very open about that. And he said a couple things in there that stuck with me. And one of the things was, when he was younger, he knew he was going to be famous when he was 18. He would just say it. Every day he would say, when I'm 18 and famous. And it just eventually became this thing, like, he knew it was going to happen. There was no doubt. So I wonder if we know, especially the people who have had dreams, visual dreams, or have had any sort of luck during meditation, or any sort of visuals at all during a seizure, during a fever, whatever it is, if you have that, like, that glimpse, that glimmer of hope that you might be able to visualize, or even maybe you just need to tell yourself, give yourself hope by just telling yourself, I'm going to be able to visualize one day, and do that for a bit. But I think the people who have just a little bit of glimmer, what if all we do is for a year, every day, say, I can see a blue star. Or like in the morning when you wake up, you just say, I can see a blue star, I can see a blue star, I can see a blue star. And you just like look at your eyelids and see if anything comes. Put some pressure on, maybe a blue star appears, and then you work from that. Tesla talks a lot about, and not the car, obviously, Nikola Tesla talks a lot about visualization. And when he describes his visuals, I swear it reminds me of what comes to me when I'm doing the eye pressure stuff. It's like a light appears and then something comes from that. And I think that if you can train your brain to actually build from that, but it takes like such patience and such like calming of your nervous system, which is really hard for me because I live in a state of tachycardia. Like I live with my heart being 100 beats and above most of the time. And I do active meditation work, but how often do I do an hour and a half meditations? I don't do that very often. I used to try to do stuff like that, a couple times a week, but now it's like, I don't have time. So a half an hour here and there, maybe it's that my brain can't get to that state, that full, taking it from the mandala to something else. Like maybe my brain would get there if I was able to give it time. So if there's anyone out there who has some space and time, we're all in different points of our lives, right? I am working full time right now with 4 kids. So I just don't have a ton of space for it. And I'm obsessed with this stuff. And I feel like I'm getting somewhere with it. But if you have space to actually do these experiments with me and take the time to, do a longer experiment than just half an hour, so you can get to a place where your nervous system is very relaxed and you're able to, have all that blood in your brain to properly be able to, hopefully visualize. But you keep telling yourself, I can see whatever you want to see. I can see a heart. 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 I can see my mom's face. I can see it. And just like believing you can, or maybe like looking at that heart during the day so you have that visual locked into your brain. And also like working with your fascia So you're moving that inner layer in between your skin and your muscle, which I believe holds consciousness. You're moving it around, and hopefully it gets to the place that it needs to get to, and it helps you visualize. And also, like, everyone out there, every single person out there, please tell me if you have cervical ribs, because I'd be really interested to know. Hey, maybe that causes aphantasia. I don't think so. I think that there's multiple things that can cause it. Yeah. So anytime I find out anything different about me, I always try to share it here. I know I've shared before too, and I think this is connected, that I've had 2 sets of wisdom teeth, which I find very interesting, which means like I have the ability to just like continuously grow things in my body, I feel like. I don't know. There's a growth element there. And I had a long spiritual chat with ChatGPT about it, and it was like, you're right. You're a grower of things. Also, like scars, my scars turn into keloids, so my body is like overcompensating all the time. It's always like overworking, and I wonder if it's like, it's just so stressed out, even though like I love my life, but it's like the nervous system is crashing out, it's going bananas, so it's like, I'm not gonna visualize, I gotta like make sure there's no lion's gonna attack you, because my heart rate's that high that it's probably in a state where it's thinking a lion's gonna attack it. Right? Makes sense, right? Think about it. Anyway, so I'm curious, how many of my fantastic people out there have a elevated heart rate, like elevated resting heart rate? So if you were, and I know this is not going to be everyone, obviously. I think that my husband has aphantasia. I think he does anyways. And his heart rate is like 12. So very different. And maybe it's like 2 opposite sides, right? Maybe some people have aphantasia because of trauma and they put something up. I think about that for myself too. I have this one story in my head that I keep thinking about. It was when I was in grade 3 or 4, and my neighbor, my neighbor, trying to like figure out how to tell you the relationship with these people. I had this kid in my class who was also my neighbor, and my mom was friends with the mom. So the 2 boys, one was in my class, one wasn't, came over to our house and played all the time. Anyways, the mom was telling my mom, and I just overheard this story about her son Joe, how when he was little, and like cover your ears if you have what's it called that I have, where you don't like hearing stories about blood. He had his toe, spoiler alert, it's gross here, chopped off by a license plate because he was like not scootering, I don't think we scootered back then. He ran into a car and the license plate fell off and sliced his toe off. Gross, yuck, Anyway, so at the time, I remembering like that story over and over again and just like flinching every time. Like my body would like try to get it out and like, I don't want that in my brain. I don't want to think about it, But I don't remember ever having visuals with it. That's like the one thing that I can remember being like, I don't want that in my brain. Go away. And so perhaps I forced out visuals at that point. But I really, really think, because I have memories of me at such a young age, that I would remember having visuals. I just think still to this day I have problems with people's emotions and hurt, and I can't not feel things. So I think that really it's just a heightened sense of emotion and energy from other people. So where was I going with that? I don't even know why I told that story about the license plate. I think it was about, where was I going with that? Maybe there's trauma there, maybe. And this is like, we don't know. There's acquired aphantasia where something has happened in your life, either trauma, medical trauma, or emotional. Or it's congenital, but it's so hard. Is it congenital? That's what you say when you're like born with it. It's so hard to remember, you know, everything. How you thought when you were a kid, you know? It's so weird to think about. Thinking about thoughts as a whole other can of worms, let me tell ya. Where do they come from? Why do certain things enter your brain so you Google them or ask about them? I think that that's like, I don't know if it's my own brain that's making connections or if like consciousness itself, other people's consciousness, or like a consciousness of like the whole is trying to influence my brain. It gets in my brain. It tells me, make these connections, look into this, you know? Tell me if anyone else feels this way, that connections just kind of like plop in your head or like things just plop in. It's a thing. It's totally a thing. Liz Gilbert talks about it. They talk about it on the Telepathy Tapes, season 2, the creative downloads one. It is so good. Please listen. All the episodes are amazing. I'm not sure if I mentioned that one already, probably not. But as someone who lives in a creative space, I feel like I have a faucet that just like runs and ideas just flow, flow, flow. It's like, how do you pick and choose which one to go with? You have to let things go. You have to like pursue the ones that you actually want and then let the ones go that you don't. With that being said, for the last 3 months, I've been working with a partner on a new podcast. We're in the just initial phases, but we have our Instagram up now on our website, and I'd love for you to check it out. It's called the Voice Note Project. It stemmed from my love of voice notes and how I've connected with so many people through voice notes over the years and reconnected with friendships, reestablished bonds, and really got to know myself and my inner wisdom and my, inner truth and all that stuff, and helped a lot of other people do the same. We were chatting and we got to know each other through voice notes and started, really talking about the big questions. And we were talking about how, not everyone has the space to talk to other people who have these same big questions. Like, what happens when you die? What is consciousness? Can animals communicate with us? What do dreams mean? All these like big questions that, if you're a deep thinker, you want someone to talk to about, and you might not have that person. We made this platform. It's called the Voice Note Project. We're turning it into a podcast where I'm not going to say week because that's way too stressful, but every podcast we bring up one of these questions that the listeners have contributed voice notes for. So if you go to thevoicenoteproject.com, you can see the questions and you can also submit voice notes. So there's lots of interesting questions up there. And if you have a question that you want us to feature, you can also submit it there too. But the point is, like, I know, especially working in after-death care, the thing that people said the most was like, I wish I had said this, or I wish I'd done that, or I can't believe this happened at the end. And death always sparks something. Maybe not always. Some people will just be like, they're dead. But it sparks something, a curiosity in a lot of people. And sometimes you don't have space to vent that. And often people have experiences, and they might have been living a completely different life before they have an experience, like a near-death experience or an out-of-body experience, or just like some Mandela effect, something or other happens to them, or they have some weird connection with their dog. They don't want to tell their neighbor because they feel weird and they don't know who to talk to about it. That's what we're for, and we want you to share openly and talk openly so you can express yourself, get it off your chest, and also listen to other people's stories and realize that you're not alone in all the crazy experiences you had. It is not crazy. the experiences, these magical experiences that people have are totally normal, telling you they're normal, but we just don't talk about them. So I want to change that. I want to talk about these things. I want to get lots of different opinions on these things. I don't want it to just be, me. I want to get lots of different opinions, and yeah, it's there. This is like the first time I'm really talking about it, so I'm just throwing it out there to my listeners right now. Jess and I are going to do a podcast together soon where we talk about all these things, but yeah, I just wanted to share quickly, and then you can get to know us in another episode. But check out thevoicenoteproject.com, and on Instagram we're just Voice Note Project, because we couldn't get the other one, and it's all it has right now is our logo and one video. So if you're like, which one is it? I find Instagram so hard to search now. And I also have my Aphantasia experiments Instagram too. So follow me on there, connect with me on there. Yeah, and I hope this podcast made some sort of connection for someone. Maybe you have some sort of autonomic dysfunction. Maybe your heart rate's really low. Maybe it's really high. Maybe you have, I don't know, an extra liver you didn't know about that makes your body process things in a weird way, and then the blood flow doesn't get to your head. Oh, I don't know if I mentioned the pillow thing. I know I said something about how we lay on pillows and we don't get blood flow. So I think part of the meditation I want to do, and I want other people to try, is to try to do a completely flat meditation. And ideally after doing some sort of vibrational work, so I'm using that vibrating thing, or, some sort of like fascia brush or whatever, and then lying completely flat so your brain can get blood flow to the brain. I'm also going to try, and I'm not going to tell other people to do this, although you can do whatever you want, to lay with my head slightly back. I kept getting this thought to do a video as an egghead this morning when I was little. My girlfriend and I used to make these egghead videos where you lay upside down and you put a sheet over your head and your nose, and then you draw eyes and a nose on your chin, and then you talk. Anyways, I kept getting this thought I should do an egghead video for one of these TikTok, for a TikTok. And I'm I think that's why. I think I'm supposed to do that to get blood flow to my brain and see how I feel. Maybe I should get back into headstands. I don't know. Probably not. But anyway, so I'm going to try doing flat meditation, slightly inverted meditation, and I will let you know how it goes. And please let me know as well how it goes. Follow along on Instagram, send me a message on there, or go to my website as well, aphantasiaexperiments.com. I mentioned before I have a quiz on the front page to help you kind of figure out where your superpowers lie. If you have aphantasia and you just feel kind of lost, it can help guide you into knowing where your strengths actually lie. Yeah, and then I have share your experience page. But honestly, I really want you to share a voice note. If you've never shared a voice note before, just try it. Try it one time. And we have a thing that you can record right online. But if you feel more comfortable, you can just record a voice note on your phone and then email it to me, either rofocreative@gmail.com or thevoicenoteproject@gmail.com. And yeah, get your voice out there. It matters. You matter. Your story matters. The littlest story can help someone else feel less alone in their own story. And the more we can hear other people's stories, the more we can make connections, right? I make connections all the time by listening to people's stories. So listen to others and share. And please share with me and Jess, because we are excited to hear from you. We want to change the world. We want to change consciousness. We want to uplift it. We want people to feel connected and less alone. Here's one last story for you. This has nothing to do with aphantasia. But I'm not a political person at all, and I'm not into American politics at all because I'm Canadian. Um, but this past summer I went for a vacation in Alaska and I got, not shit on, but like a lot of people were saying before, and it wasn't directed at me, but it was like, don't travel to America, you can't support Americans and blah, blah, blah. And I hate that, first of all. I've always thought, like, how can you blanketly not support a country where there are individuals in that country? Individuals that I love. I love a lot of Americans. I have a lot of American friends that are incredible, empathetic, wonderful people. So to blanketly, call it a state or call it a country and, whatever. I don't think that's okay. The point is they didn't want us to like support the tariff stuff and give money to their economy. But again, there are people in the economy. There are people that need to eat, and there's people that rely on tourism, and it doesn't all go to Donald Trump, So anyways, I don't want to get into the whole politics thing here. But the thing that upsets me is we are all connected and we've lost that, and I really want to bring that back together. So I got tickets to see Kamala Harris. I always say her name wrong, and my friend was coaching me on how to say it. I'm just bad with names, like pronunciation. And she said it's like Pamela with a K. Kamala Harris? Anyways, I saw her in Toronto this week on Sunday. It was really great. And she was talking about how we can have leaders who are, terrible. She didn't say those words. She said it more politically and empowering. She was very good with her words. But we can still have connection with the people and the individuals. And that is so true. And I just want everyone out there to be reminded of that, despite your beliefs, despite your whatever, you can still make connections with people. That being said, I've never experienced anything, and I have American friends and they've told me about how bad it is over there right now. And I don't mean to say like go make friends with someone who's yelling ice ice baby at you. I don't condone that. I think that is so disgusting, and it just shows that they don't realize that they're connected. They just think that they're just their own person. It's all about me, me, me. It's so like gross. And I heard on the radio, this is more about connection. This morning, I was dropping my kids off at school. My daughter's like, can I just stay in the car for a minute? Nobody's here yet. So I'm like, okay. So we were just listening to the radio for a minute. And I always listen when she makes me do this because there's something on the radio that I need to connect with. And the question they were asking on the radio was, if someone were to walk by and put poop in your garbage, what would you do? Like dog poop in a bag on garbage day. And people were calling in, losing their mind, saying like, I would call bylaw, I would throw the poop back at them. And I was like, are you kidding me? It's garbage day. What makes your garbage better than their garbage? It's in a bag and it's going in the garbage truck. If I saw someone with struggling and they had a bunch of poo bags and it was garbage day, I'd be like, throw it in my garbage. Who gives a flying fuck? It's going in a garbage truck. But like, you can't put your stuff in there because it's mine. It's me, me, me. And this is where we've completely fucked up our entire, society. It's like we don't realize that we are connected and our connections matter. And the more we forget that, the more troubled we're going to be. So that being said, the more we share our experiences, the more we share our own knowledge, our own wisdom, the more we can elevate consciousness, help people out of, those dark zones, Hey, maybe the guy who was blaring Ice Ice Baby, and by the way, it's because of ice, I don't even know, what does ice stand for? But I know that they're stealing people away from people and detaining them and all this stuff. It's awful. And they're blaring this, what? Why do you not care about people? But My point is, maybe that guy drives home, God forbid gets into an accident, has a near-death experience, comes out of it and says, holy shit, I was wrong. We are all connected. I need to share my story. Boom! Voice note project. Share your story. And let's help people realize. And this is not about converting people to like a religion. I am not about organized religion. I think that I'm not against if you are part of organized religion, but I think that if it controls your life and you can't make decisions for yourself based on your own inner wisdom, then it's problematic. And I think it can be used as a means to just control people for a lot of reasons. And I also think that it's a big reason why, we've had a lot of suffering in the world, a lot of wars, a lot of major issues, and death has come from religion. So, and I always think about the game of telephone. When you play a game of telephone, you say one thing to one person, then they say it to the next person, then they say it to the next person. That's the Bible. And yeah. And if people were having all the experience from the Bible now, no one would believe them because people would just think it was photoshopped, or people are making up a story on TikTok. So, or they're crazy and they would be put on medication. So just think about that as a whole. Okay. I feel like I went on a bit of a tangent there, but tell me if you've done any fascia work. Tell me if you've had any experience with colors and meditation, or if you've been able to expand on that with light or whatever. Share your experience at the Voice Note Project, and I will catch you on the flip side. Never knew what that meant, but maybe it means like after we die. I'll catch you over there, beyond the veil. Ooh. Anyways, I'll talk to you guys later. Bye.